All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Never Miss podcast. We got Grace here with us and our special guest. Really excited about this opportunity to sit down and chat with Drewbie Wilson, Andrew Wilson. Man, how are you? It's very nice to have you.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to spend a little time with y'all today. And man, I'm doing good, crushing the day. I am just closing out of a busy sales day, been calling the damn leads, as you know well, and excited to be here hanging out with y'all and provide some value to your wonderful listeners. And also, I'm sure learn a thing or two from y'all while I'm here.
Yeah, man, I hope so. I hope to learn something from you as well. Now, the founder of Call the Damn Leads. Now, fill us in a little bit so anyone listening can understand exactly what we're looking at there.
So, Call the Damn Leads is my e-commerce brand and also by all extensions how I serve to help the world. And that's by reminding them to do the thing that they know they should be doing if they're a sales professional, entrepreneur, or a business owner. And so it started as just a funny thing that I used to say to clients. And then it was like a not so funny thing that I had to say to clients. And then I decided it was a funny thing I should put on a t-shirt and maybe sell someday. And that was 4 years ago when I originally had the idea. At the time, I was working as a consultant in a tech startup out of Texas where we met y'all and was just kind of moseying along. And then this crazy opportunity presented itself back in December last year and was like, hey, I think I'm going to go all in and build this brand, go out and take all these amazing skills that I've learned and do it with a little fun and humor for all of my professionals out there that know what the grind looks like when it comes to sales.
Absolutely.
I
I've
love it.
seen all the damn leads all over social media. It seems like it's going up like a wildfire. I've absolutely loving people crushing the day before it crushes you and calling the damn leads. Now, Drewbie Wilson, you went through a personal rebrand back in the day. We always hear who the fuck is Andrew, right? So tell us a little bit, what prompted the change? You lost over 100 pounds and became Drewbie Wilson. So tell us a little bit more, like, were you forced to make this decision? What caused you to be like, hey, I'm changing my brand?
What's funny is like I've always been Drewbie. Like Drewbie was my name growing up. That was my drug dealer name because I grew up in the streets selling anything and everything I could get my hands on. And so like that's what people call me. I was Drewbie because Andrew's a kind of a boring ass Midwestern American name, right? Andrew Wilson. It's
It
not the
is, yeah.
sexiest thing on the planet. It's kind of just a Midwest American name, which is cool. I'm grateful for it. And also, there's like a bajillion of us out there. And
Yeah.
so as I was growing up, kind of having to forge my own path as it was in the streets and learning when I transitioned, because like I don't want to be dead. I don't want to be in prison. I've got this beautiful wife. I've got a beautiful young baby at home. Like I got to get my act together. And so when I transitioned into actual legitimate sales, selling insurance, I was like, well, I'm going to keep the name even though I'm Andrew Wilson on my business cards and the tax man and the doctors all call me Andrew. And, now Meta calls me Andrew because they won't let me have the blue check without it. But it's not really me. Like I'm Andrew Wilson. That's who I am. But like Drewbie is who I am. That's the guy, the person, the character that everyone has grown to know and love. And if anyone's ever read or heard about alter egos, like that's kind of my alter ego. I had to step into this new version of myself because growing up, I was overweight, came from a broken home, had a lot of addiction and shit that ran through my family that sure I could use as an excuse to be a shitbag. Or like a lot of us who go on this journey, I look back at it now and I say, hey, I'm going to use that as kind of my springboard into this next version of myself. As we progress in life, we kind of have these different seasons and reasons and versions of ourselves. And you think back, like I don't know about y'all. I mean, you're a little younger than me, but at one point I had the emo swoop. I could go all the way down. I had the all black jeans. The bullet belt. Like that was a different version of me. But as I've grown, as I've progressed, I've had to continue to rebrand that's more in alignment with who I am in the season and where I'm progressing towards for the future.
I love it, man. It's been pretty incredible. I like that photo of you that we posted on our social media story today. I love that photo because I mean, you were huge.
Yeah,
you were huge, man. And were you, and you say selling insurance, that was for Allstate, right?
correct.
The best, right?
You're in
in
good
my in
Right.
my
hands, I guess.
industry,
I don't know. It depends on what side of the chair you're on, I guess, you know?
in my chair, it's the worst, right? We have a
Yep.
nickname for Allstate, but hey, it is what it is. But man, I want to ask you, and you made that transition, and it was a pretty profound transition, and you had a really good, high-paying job, and you had a really good position to where you were a leader, where you were, where Grace and I had the opportunity to meet you. I want to hone in and kind of zoom in on the risk you took to leave there to go do what you're doing now, which I don't want to ever downplay that taking that risk, which I feel like a lot of people getting into the sales industry does that, but that risk you took, I know that changed you as an individual. You bettered yourself where you were. And to see you leave such a secure, safe place where I met you and where I thought Drewbie was happy, to seeing you now, you think that transition from, the fat picture of you to the comparison photo was great. The transition from when I met you to now seeing it is even better, in my opinion. And I kind of want to know what prompted that risk, especially like you said, with a wife and with a young kid, because whether you think it or not, those fucking play into those decisions greatly. And so, I mean, how did you navigate that?
So let me preface with I was happy. It's not that I didn't leave because I was unhappy. I didn't leave
Yeah.
because some bad negative thing happened. It was a choice of, hey, the season that I've been through, when I left Ohio originally back in 2019, I was making, when I started with that company, I was making $35,000 a year on average as a commission sales rep, y'all.
Yep.
So like most of your guys probably make that in a month, the good closers.
Yeah.
I was making that. It took me a year. And I was going through this transition, meeting these people going like, why am I busting my butt so hard, to make this money? And I'm not getting anywhere. So when I made the transition and left Ohio to go to Texas, it was like, listen, I'm leaving the most secure thing I've ever had. I was a drug dealing, hoodlum, freaking not so great individual that was given an opportunity to sell insurance and make 40 grand a year and not have to end up in prison. So like I
Yeah.
was really grateful for what I had. And also, when I went to the guy and was like, hey, man, how do I make more money? He said, you got to be patient. If you wait like 10, 15 years, it'll be your name on the door. Everything will be cruising. And like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not a very patient person. I grew up in the age of like internet cable. Like, we get it right now. We don't fuck around. You want it, you got it. Just call the man and it comes in 30 minutes or less.
Yep.
And so that may be a character flaw of mine, but that's just the truth. And so when it came to making that decision to leave the most comfortable thing I had ever had, and remember, y'all, the guy that employed me at that time was also my in-law, who I was married to his daughter-in-law. Like he paid for my wedding, our
Wow.
vacation. Like there was so much complexity to that decision. And then I went to Texas. I made millions of dollars, did
Yeah.
all kinds of crazy. I mean, I've been on private jets, I've spoken on stages, met some of the most amazing individuals in the world, which is why when I look back on that decision to leave there, there's nothing but gratitude.
Yeah.
I went to like millionaire college, billionaire college, essentially. And so for me, it was like, hey, I had a full ride scholarship at a school where it taught me everything I needed to know. And now the best thing that I can do as a graduate is to go and continue to set the example in the next league, in that next phase. So when it
Wow.
was time to say, hey, I walked away from $40,000 a year 5 years ago, and now I'm looking at the decision to walk away from $400,000 a year or more, which again, that it could have been a lot more, but I also had to decide, what do I want? What is freedom? What is true freedom mean to Drewbie Wilson, to Andrew Wilson and his family? What does that mean? And for me, it was knowing that I was going to go and build something with my own banner behind it. And as much as I love the company that I came from and have nothing
Yeah.
but great things to say, I can't leave that to my son. Like I can't give someone else's business to my son. And when I thought about what my legacy on this planet meant, it was so much bigger than the spot that I was in,
Yeah.
that it was a really hard decision, but it was also the right decision for me.
Dude, to walk
Absolutely.
away from that, and sorry, Grace, to walk away from that much money, I don't think a lot of people understand how much money 400,000 or more, and the potential of more, which a lot of these jobs have that potential, how much money that really is. And to leave that for uncertainty means you felt pretty fucking strong about your decision, and I think that's something that people shouldn't overshadow. To leave that much money, which I think that puts you in 1% of earners in America, the top 1%, to leave that and go do what you did is incredible. And I think it's very brave, and I think it's awesome. And I respect the fuck out of that for sure.
Thanks, Reed. I appreciate that.
And I know you're
Yeah.
talking about building your legacy for your family. I mean, I know you got a young kiddo that you are always showing off how adorable he is on social media.
Thank you. So do y'all. Congrats, by the way. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. But one thing that you were saying is that you want to build a legacy, and you can't do that whenever you're building someone else's legacy. But obviously that takes time. And
Yes.
as new parents, for us, we're realizing how valuable our time is. And we've always valued our time. We always see that how we can make the world a better place with every single minute that, we are blessed to have this life. But whenever you're building something for your son or for your family, time just seems a little bit different than before you had, that next generation. So how do you manage time, and how do you value your time whenever you're building this awesome brand, but also you have your family as well?
Yeah.
That's such a great question, Grace. And I appreciate you, saying all those kind things about my wonderful son and my family. Like, this is a big part of our journey and why we share what we share, because I know if I'm going to influence someone to make different decisions in their life to hopefully improve their status, like, I have to live it. I can't be talking about it and not living it. And it's so funny because even when I'm on the phone calling the damn leads every day, people are like, "You're really calling the leads, bro? Like, don't you own the company? What are you doing?" It's like, I'm not calling the damn lead. I'm practicing what I preach. But the reason I say that is because when it comes to time, that was one of the original things that kicked off my entire entrepreneurial journey, Grace. And I don't know if you know this or not, but at one point when I was selling insurance, I had gone to the boss and I'm like, "How do I make more money?" And he said, "Be patient." And I went, "I'm not patient. That's not going to work." So I went online and I started looking on Facebook and I'm like, "Okay, well, what are other people in my industry who are having success? What are they doing?" And they're all talking about, "Well, you got to build, these things." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to go and learn and do the thing." So I started learning marketing and I had a little success, and I was sharing that success, what was working with me inside of a Facebook community. And at one point, this wonderful woman named Nancy, she calls me and she says, "Hey, Drew, I see you're using this software that I'm also using and you're having a lot of success with it. How much for an hour of your time to hop on a call and answer a few questions, walk me through it?" And like, it was kind of one of them God moments, I think. He kind of like touched his hand on me and went, "This is a very important message, young man. Think about this." So
Oh,
in my
yeah.
mind, I'm racing and I'm going, "Okay, well, I make $12 an hour salary plus commissions is normally like 4 grand a month. So if I do the math, I'm like 25 bucks an hour. Okay. And if I was going to work overtime, I'd get paid time and a half or two. So I'm like, how about 50 bucks? And Nancy, I could just feel like the weird, like the what on the other end of the phone. She's like, "I'll send you 75." I was like, "That sounds great. Yeah, let's do that. Perfect." Like, fuck yeah. Why would I say no to that? So I'll never forget this. I get on the call with her on Thursday. And I talked to her Tuesday. We get on the call Thursday, and she's asking me something. And it's just like this super casual conversation, having a great time, just really enjoyable for me. Get to the end. She's like, "This was so great. Thank you so much. I'm going to implement this. And then I'm honestly probably going to want to buy some more of your time. So just be ready for that." And then she sent me a Venmo for 75 bucks. And I probably have the screenshot somewhere in my Google Photos if I looked really hard, but I'll never
that's
forget. I sent it to my wife and I was like, "Babe, how do I do this every day?" Because if I did this twice a day, 3 days a week, I'd make twice as much money and work half as often. How fucking like, what is going on? And at that point, my entire mind shifted because I started realizing that people will pay you what you are worth, but you have to ask for it. And until you accept that your time is worth whatever it needs to be worth, no one else is ever going to respect you for it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. What a cool story too. I've never heard that story, man. That's awesome. That is so
Hmm.
cool. Well, Nancy sounds like an awesome lady.
Nancy Meek, she is just an absolute gem of a human being. She has gone on, she was in mortgages at the time. She's gone on to build like a whole women's group and she coaches other women now. And it's like so incredible to see what that journey looks like. But it all comes back to what is your time worth? And so one of the things that I work when I'm coaching my clients is, hey, we need to get very clear. What is your time worth? And most people haven't done that math, at least not recently, because most of us came up making, $10 an hour, $20 an hour doing grunt labor. And Reed, you probably know, like the guys that you got picking up shingles and shit, like they make grunt money because that's what
Yeah.
they do. But you know what? They can progress, they can gain skill sets, they can learn, they can grow, they can transition. And that's what happens when you become more focused on your time and what it's worth. And so
Yeah.
the formula is this. If you take all the money that you made last year as a total, maybe your main gig, maybe you got a side gig, maybe you got a website where you post pictures of your feet and people pay you to look at them. I don't know.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
baby.
judging. I'm just saying, if you're spending time on it, it's an investment of your time, and time is your most valuable asset. So if you think, hey, I made 100 grand last year, if you were to divide that number by 2,000, because that's what the average person works, 2,000 hours a year, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, they take their 2-week vacation, right? Average. And if you're here with us, you're obviously not average. You also like take this with a
Yeah.
grain of salt. But if you were, you'd work 2,000 hours in a year. If you made 100 grand, your time's worth $50 an hour. And Grace, this is how I really transition. And this is the shift when you have a kid. Because if you know that your time is worth $50 an hour, and maybe that's good, maybe it's terrible. I'm not judging. That's for you to figure out. But like, if you know that, and I put on a hood and I knock on the door and I'm like, all right, Grace, here's $50. I need you to come with me for the next hour. What are you going to say?
Me personally, I would say no. I'd much rather stay in my home and spend time with my family for $50. You know what I'm
Reed,
saying?
what do you think? You coming out for $50?
No, you ain't getting me anywhere.
Right. It's obvious that no one's going to be like, well, my last 24 hours, of course, I'm going to trade it for $50 or $100 or whatever that arbitrary number is. Like, no, there is a number, though. At some point, we start to recognize that, hey, if it is my last 24 hours, money is a very important resource and tool that the people I love and care about need in order to survive. So, at a certain number, I might make a different decision. Like $1,000,000, who's going to know about it? I guess it really doesn't matter. I'm going to be dead and I'm going to provide for my family, right? So at that point, I might make the exchange. So
Yep.
now we start to realize there is a limit somewhere where you recognize that you do need to exchange your time for a certain monetary value in order to provide the things that you've promised the people you care so much about. Is that making sense?
Yeah, and that makes me think. I saw that post the other day, and I think it was your post that said, if you had 24 hours left, how much would you charge for one phone call? How much would one phone call? And that's big for me. And the reason I say that is because when I get home at the end of the day and my phone does ring, I look at it, and someone who's in charge of a lot of people in your business as well, you also have to understand, just because you don't answer the call, not everything's going to burn down. And that's something I had to learn. And it used
Yeah,
to
me
be, oh
too.
my gosh, I got to answer. It's 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday, and we got a team meeting on Monday. This must not be able to wait. And it's just, you got to answer the call. And it's like, no, if this was my last opportunity to spend with my family, what is this call worth? Would I answer this call? And most of the time the answer is no. And that's the big realization I've come to over the last year, and having a kid and having, being more family oriented is, yeah, there's a time to hustle and grind, and that's great, but the whole place ain't going to burn down. And so I like that perspective of if this was your last day, how much would an hour really cost? And so I like that.
And I think that's the thing that's really a big level up mentally from sales professional to entrepreneur business owner. Because I know for sure when I went down to Texas, I was a sales professional, pulling through like full blown employee mindset, like you're in charge, boss, give me my marching directions, let me get at it. And
Yeah.
I was the one that would pick up the phone. I'd be at Cedar Point, I'd be at Six Flags, and it's like, oh, somebody's calling. I gotta secure the bag, gotta kill, if I don't kill, I don't eat. And this is the way it is. And that's one of the transitions that I had to make over time, was learning that if I don't create a boundary and I don't respect my time, no one else is going to respect it. And here's the
Boom.
thing. The people who don't respect time are more than willing to take as much of it as they possibly can because they don't care. They don't value their time. So they're going to take as much of yours as possible because it's a waste all around.
Yes, it's funny. That word boundaries is so huge. In that last Zoom call I was just on before this, we were talking just as a company, and we were talking about the double standard of communication that so vastly takes over our company. It's, when we need a photo of this to pay out a job or to pay our crew or whatever it is, we go 3 weeks without a response. But when it comes down to your commission check, it's the end of the world. We all got to stop what we're doing, and we've got to be at your beck and call. And, it's our job to learn how to navigate and manage those situations and have that patience and understand. And yes, we do have to kind of cater to them a little bit, but it's like that double standard of communication. You're right. Having those boundaries is huge, and being young, and I'm sure it's your sales job and where you are now, you are in the hustle stage, and you've been in the hustle stage where it's like, okay, I got to get it. But those boundaries, they're hard to place. And if you let them get out of hand, they're really hard to rein back in. And so it's really hard to establish those from the beginning.
That's the part right there, Reed, that's so important, is if you let it get away from you early on, it's like a dog that you don't train, right? I know you train dog. You guys are like big on training. If you let a dog get to a year or 2 years old without having trained it, it's so much harder to fix the bad habits than if you just get people dialed in from the start. And, as a sales professional, a lot of times if you're not getting somebody completely blue off of the street that has no idea, you are breaking some bad habits. Even guys that transition from like one industry where they did really, really well to another, it doesn't always translate, right? One of the phrases, and I think a guy we know very well, is like, methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time because it's so damn true, right? There's a million ways to make $1 million. But at the end of the day, if you can't show up on time, you can't communicate clearly, and you can't show up and deliver the expectations, well, that's where shit gets a fucking just disaster. And the biggest issue is the communication part. And sometimes the boundaries in the communication are important because people will overstep. They'll text you at 7 p.m. on a Sunday about a deal that doesn't fucking matter until Monday. And come to find out, you haven't even done your part of the thing that you're bothering me about to get paid on. Because if you'd have done it, this wouldn't even be a conversation. But if you lean in on that, guess what? They're going to do it every Sunday because they know you're going to respond.
That's it. Grace, I know you've got a list of questions. I'm sorry, my ADHD brain is going. Drewbie, a lot of the listeners we have are people in the industry and that are actively selling, and more are that sales professional type. And I know your listeners are as well. And so let me ask you this. Someone new to the industry, someone who's experiencing their first round of success, or maybe even a veteran guy that just feels like sales has just been pulling him on all directions. How do you establish those boundaries with your customers? Those customers, because obviously some customers are fucking headaches and some aren't. Usually your high paying ones are the ones that, there's that slogan, and, the $50 customer is, what do I get for this? The $50,000 customer says, here's the wire transfer. Let me know when everything's done. How do you set those boundaries with your customers? Because we've all had those clients. How do you navigate that?
Reed, I think it starts before the sale even happens. I think it starts in the pre-qualification process. So one of the things as a sales professional, and this is a tip that I hope the guys listening will take for real, in the first question that I ask every single person that I'm starting to have that conversation, every damn lead that I call, I'm going to ask, hey, what made you decide to reach out? And would you prefer to have this conversation in messages or on the phone? I'm good either way. You tell me what works best for you, because I'm going to let them choose their preferred method of communication. Because you know what happens a lot of times, and this happens in relationships more than anywhere, but you're trying to communicate with somebody in a way they don't want to be communicated with. You ever have that, Grace? You ever have a situation where you're trying to talk to Reed and you're like, bro, you're just not fucking getting it. What's going on here? And you're Reed looking at her going, I don't get it. What the fuck are you trying to say? You're having a conversation, but you're not communicating in the same fashion. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that most sales professionals are overlooking with their customers. Hey, let's get the expectations right up front. How do you want to communicate? What's going to work best for you? Because if you want to do emails, I can do emails. You want to get on a phone call? Fantastic. Let's get on a phone call. Here's what I need to do, though. I will meet you there on the phone call. What I'd like is, can you please go to my calendar on this link and schedule a time that you know you'll be available? Because if you do that, I know I will be available because my calendar is my boss. Now, if we try to play phone tag, there's a good chance we won't talk for the next 3 weeks because I don't just play phone tag. If you want to talk on the phone, I'm available between this time, and I'd like you to go and pick the one that's going to work best for you. What they don't know is in that calendar, I've specifically said you can only book on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock. That's what you get, guys.
Yep.
That's my boundary. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, we're going to have to find another way to communicate. Or maybe I'm going to express to you, you know what? Typically, I only accept calls during this time. So if we have to do something special for you, we can make that concession. However, I'm going to need something in return. Right? What's that micro commitment that you're getting from them? That's one step further in the sales process.
I've seen so many new reps run themselves ragged, being at their customers' beck and call. And I feel like my sales career, when I first started selling in this industry, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, I really got better and made a shift and was actually able to help more clients, more one-on-one and on a more personal level when those boundaries were set. And it's not, hey, I've got a check ready, you need to come pick it up, blah, blah, blah. It's not, oh my God, I got 6 things. Fine, I'll get over there. Give me 30 minutes. It's like, that's not boundaries. That's them not respecting your time. And if you don't set that standard, your time's not getting respected throughout the entire sale. So I love that. I think setting those expectations in the beginning is a huge takeaway from this. I'm taking notes. That's awesome.
And I want to expand on the whole pre-qualification process. I mean, even whenever we're growing our team, we are looking at people who we don't think are going to waste our time training them. Whenever we spend a week long and continued training on a person because we believe in them, it's because we've already pre-qualified them. You know, asking how they're pursuing excellence in their life, asking what they're willing to do for success, asking those pre-qualifying questions. But it is a totally different ballgame whenever it comes to clients, because whenever you're working with somebody, you're not like, what are your core values, Mr. Customer? You don't do that, right? So once you come across a customer, when do you determine if somebody is worth your time? What if they say, okay, you know, phone call is the best method, and like they all set up a time? When is there a point when you realize this person is no longer worth my time? Or does it ever even get to that?
No, there's 100% that point. So I'm engaging on responsiveness. So, and this could spiral into a number of different directions based on like all the little cadences and nuances of my process. So I'm going to try to simplify it down a little bit because what I do extends way, way deeper than just the basics. However, let's just say new leads are coming in. So a new lead comes in, we reach out, we text them, they say, yeah, let's have a conversation, you know, on the phone. I'm like, great, here's my link. They schedule Thursday at 1 p.m. First of all, I'm going to set expectations by making sure to notify them and continuously remind them of that commitment they made. So the moment someone books a time on my calendar, and you guys didn't get to see this example because I booked on your calendar, but typically the way this would work is like the moment they book, it goes into my CRM and I get a notification. So I'm notified that they're on the calendar. They're going to get an immediate text message that says, hey, thank you so much. We are confirming your meeting with Drewbie on Thursday at 1 p.m. EST, CST, PST, whatever their time zone is, because it's always going to book in their time zone because I work with people all across the country. And then 24 hours before the meeting, they're going to get a reminder email. 4 hours before the meeting, they're going to get a reminder email. And inside of it is, hey, this is the meeting, the date, the time, the topic of discussion that you specifically filled out and requested us talk about during this conversation. And then 15 minutes before, no, 30 minutes, I'm sorry, 30 minutes before, they get a text message reminder that says, hey, our call is coming up soon. We look forward to the conversation. Boom. And then if they don't reply or respond to any of those, typically I'm already kind of like, all right, we're going to see. And then if they don't answer on the first call, I send a text message. I say, hey, this is Drewbie over at Call the Damn Leads, following up for our scheduled appointment. I just want to make sure everything is okay. Question mark. Because genuinely, like, if someone has an issue, I don't want to come across and be a dick, right? I actually had a situation one time where I was going to an important meeting with a guy, and I was getting a little frustrated because he was like 15 minutes late and hadn't responded. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how disrespectful. Like, and this was a guy we had a conversation about, like, how important this meeting was. And I got a little upset. And, you know, it was one of those God moments. And I walked out the door and I was picking up my phone to call him. And he was sitting at the intersection and had gotten rear-ended. And he was like on the phone with the police, trying to get the police, because there was this little old lady in the car behind him freaking out because she rear-ended him. And so, like, here I was in my own head, all pissed off about this guy who disrespected my time, when the truth was, genuinely, he was in a weird situation that was priority. So typically I call, I send the text message asking if they're okay. If I don't get any response, I call again at the 5-minute pass point. And then if they don't respond, I kick them into a sequence. It's basically like, hey, I never heard from you. I hope everything's okay. We'd love to reschedule. If not, no big deal. And then they move off into maybe a dead leads list, essentially. So to me, like, that's someone who, if they set an appointment and then they can't show up, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste my time to keep following up with you.
Right.
However, they may go into on a dead leads Friday morning, because there's gold in the old, as they say. Every Friday for about an hour, I spend time in the morning calling dead leads. It's like, hey, it's been 3 months, 6 months, 4 months since we chatted. Just wanted to check in, see how everything's going. I know you missed our last appointment. I have to assume something really, really important came up, or you wouldn't have missed it. What's going on? And so that's kind of where I make that decision at a certain point. If they're unresponsive, I just move them to dead leads and know I'll catch up with them later.
I'm super curious before you ask your next question, Grace. I'm really bad at follow-up. It's probably one of my weakest
Damn it,
points.
Reed.
It's the follow-up after the no close. So I'm with you, man. I'm again with you. If someone is late, I view that as the biggest disrespect to my time. And I struggle to really not get offended by that. Okay. And so I say fuck the dead leads. And so when you're going through those dead leads, obviously your conversion is not a 5 out of 10 ratio. What are you looking at out of 100 dead leads? What are you pulling out of there? I'm very curious.
All right. First of all, Reed, I'm going to reframe your mind a little bit here, because I'm about to fuck you up, because I'm about to help you make a couple extra milli next year. Okay. And so I want you to remember this conversation, because this is going to be really big. Okay. You guys are in the roofing industry, right? So you help people fix their roofs, repair miscellaneous shit. You're contractors, essentially. Like, it doesn't just have to be the roof. It could be whatever. So let me ask you this question. If you close 5 out of 10 leads, what happens to those other 5? They just go into the dead leads pile, right? Like, fuck off.
In the CRM, cool. Dead leads. Yep.
Perfect. What are the chances that within 12 months of them not working with you, the idiots who put their roof on have caused some sort of major damage that needs to be repaired or replaced?
I've seen it too many times.
And so why are you letting some other asshole go and get those deals when they're your deals to begin with?
Boom. You're right. You're right.
If you spent one day a month calling dead leads and just asking, hey, the guys that put your roof on, did they do a good job for you, or did they fuck it up and now you need someone to come take a look at it?
I've gotten so many of those messages, the regret messages, the
Grace,
apology
we get this
messages.
man. Get this man before I come down there. Come on now. Come on now.
Very high price point on his hourly rate. So
here's another one. Here's the other one that's about to really fuck you up, Reed. And this is one that I think not many people are doing. What if you called and said, hey, I know we weren't the contractor for you, but I just wanted to double check and make sure that anyone else who was in your area got taken care of. And if not, would you be willing to refer us over based on our conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Some of my best referral partners, I never did business with personally. It just didn't make sense. It just wasn't a good fit. But you know what? They really loved me. So they sent me a shitload of business.
I love that. Especially with a lot of our team members right now who are starting out and maybe they don't have a 9 out of 10 close ratio or something like that, that'll be really, that could be game changing for them. Working referrals are the doors that you don't knock. We don't call the damn leads necessarily here. We knock the damn doors. So
I gotta send you guys some knock the damn doors t-shirts. I don't know if you've seen those, but I got those on the website too.
Love it.
Oh, we need those. We need those. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of call the damn leads, Mr. Drewbie Wilson is on the way up to the #1 bestseller book on Amazon right now. Okay, so with that being said, y'all, you can find it on Amazon, right, Drewbie? And it's number 7 right now, but we're getting it to #1, right?
Man,
so how
how
can we find this?
Well, yeah, go to Amazon, search Call the Damn Leads, either by the Kindle, the paperback, whichever. What's so crazy about this, Grace, is that typically when someone launches a book, especially in our space online, where we're not like celebrities or super well-known famous people, typically what happens is when you launch a book, it goes to bestseller for like a week or two because your friends and all your homies and everybody comes and buys one. And that's awesome. Like I've got a couple that have done that as well. I'm super proud of it. Grateful to know that I had a community that wanted to support me. What's crazy about this situation, Grace, is I launched this book in January. So like we're 7 months from the launch date, and I'm still creeping up and battling against people that are like well-known marketers, celebrities, people that have been in the game for decades. And here's little old Drewbie and Call the Damn Leads, like fucking fighting like the underdog. And it reminds me of the that Cat Williams interview that he did with Shannon Sharp, where he was like, yeah, on paper, they might be the better team, but put it on the line, boy. Because that's how I feel right now, to know that my book, you know, is creeping up there with the best of the best in the industry 7 months after launch. That to me means that our movement is doing something. Because it's not
just friends and family.
Everybody, baby. This is everyone doing the damn thing.
Yes. That is fucking awesome.
Got another question for you. So this book, I just feel like it's another step building your legacy. Where is this legacy going for Drewbie Wilson? Like, where are you wanting to go with this brand, with this?
What's next?
What's next?
So my mission right now, we officially launched essentially January 1st, 2024, right? The brand, the company's been around for a number of years, but let's just say I went all in on this thing January 1, 2024. My goal is that by 2030, you can't walk through an airport in the United States without seeing a Call the Damn Leads bag tag somewhere. There's a sales professional in every airport right now, and by 2030, one of them SOBs is going to have a Call the Damn Leads tag on their bag. And then by 2040, it'll be in every airport across the world, because we'll have translated it into a dozen different languages, which we're working on, because Call the Damn Leads doesn't quite translate the way you think it would. So we're working on that part. But like, that's the mission. By 2030, I will be in every single airport across the country on at least one bag in that SOB. That's the future. How we're going to get there, I don't exactly know yet. What that's going to look like, I don't exactly know yet. It's that, you know, I jumped off the cliff. I'm building my airplane on the way down. We're going to figure it out.
Yep. That's the way you got to do it. That's you talk to anybody who's done something big. They don't know A to Z how it's going to look on the way there. That's it. I mean, I fucking love that. I think, man, and it goes back to a lot of the interviews that I hear from Grace or guys we bring in. It's like, well, what does this look like? What does this look like? What does this look like? It's like, man, that's the wrong mindset. That's the wrong mindset. You got to have the mindset of someone else has done it. Why the fuck can't I? And that's got to be your mindset when you enter your industry, our industry, Grace's industry. So I love that mentality. Jump off the cliff and build your airplane on the way down. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Well, and I always wonder, like, as far as anyone getting into sales, sorry, Grace, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like anyone who's making that decision to get into commission, it's always so scary. But the only people that are scared of a commission job are the people that get a paid salary, because they know that they will show up and half-ass it all day long and still get paid. Whereas a commission-only person, they don't get that choice. Like every day when my alarm goes off at 4 a.m., I have to make the decision. Am I going to hit snooze, or am I going to get up and go get 20 minutes of extra work in before everybody else does? That's my choice. If I don't want to make that choice, like, okay. But I know that every day I make the choice not to get my ass out of bed, I get one step closer to that fat motherfucker I was 5-6 years ago. I get one step closer to the person that I wasn't happy being. So do I want to take a step backwards or do I want to take a step forwards? That's the decision you have to make every single day.
Absolutely. We've seen so many people how commission only sales has been so life changing. It's been like the turning point in their life. So what do you tell people from your perspective? People hear it from us all the time, roofing sales. They hear that all the time, but from somebody else in commission only sales, what do you tell people who are afraid to take that jump, but they're on the edge ready to do it?
Trust the process. The biggest thing people fail to do is trust the process. But Reed is a perfect example. I bet if we went back and looked at a picture of Reed when he was young, he was probably a skinny little scraggly guy, wasn't as fucking balled out ripped as he is now. Am I wrong?
No,
Am I wrong?
I went through a fat stage, but yeah, most of my life I was pretty skinny.
All right, well, so I assumed you were a skinny guy, Reed. I'm sorry. You were like me. You were on the chunky side. Fantastic. Welcome to the crew, big dog. But that's the point, right? You had to go in and hit the gym. And then at a certain point, hitting the gym only did so much. And you realize, like, okay, now I got to start eating different. And eating different, like ground beef and rice fucking sucks. Ground chicken and rice sucks. It's boring. But you know
that was
what?
lunch today.
I know what you're eating because I look at you and I go, yeah, I want to look like that too some days, but fuck, I don't want to have to eat ground chicken and rice 6 times a day. Like, that sucks. I love tacos and margaritas, y'all. No offense. Like,
hey,
I make that small sacrifice. And also, I still get up and walk 4 miles every day because I know I got to put work. And there's differences.
Do that I have mad respect for.
Thank you. But that's the thing is, if you just trust the process, the people who are bringing you in that are giving you this opportunity, they're not trying to fuck you. Like, why would someone bring you into an opportunity and then purposely point you in a bad direction? That is the most fucking back-asswards thinking ever. So if you're going to get into a position like that, why wouldn't you lean in and trust the process? Why wouldn't you listen to every single piece of content that exists, every single training that's ever been done to try to figure it out? You want to know how I was able to walk away from a $400,000 a year job? Because I had literally listened to every single thing that ever had been done inside that company. And I had the know-all to go, I don't know everything, but I know enough to go be dangerous. And guess what happens when you're dangerous? You get shit done. And when you get shit done, things keep happening and more opportunities keep showing up. So just trust the fucking process, guys. That's all it takes. Sorry, I got excited about that.
No, I love that. Everyone needs to hear that. I mean, so many times when we were considering bringing someone on the team, I always say, like, hey, I don't want your life to be worse off after meeting me. Like, I want your introduction to me. I want that to be, that I met Grace and now my life is better because of it, because she introduced me to commission only sales. So 100% right. We're not there to screw anybody over. This industry and, commission only sales has changed our lives. And we want to see people who have that same mindset absolutely continue on that trajectory. Sorry, Reed. I know I interrupted you.
No. You're good. You're good. I mean, but what both of y'all said is very, very valuable. I do think that what you're bringing to light, Grace, I mean, it is true. And we see it every day, and seeing these people come in and do it and take the risk. Now, again, highlighting the risk Drewbie took, I don't really think people grasp how much money $400,000 a year is when you have a wife and a young son to go do your own thing. Like, that story right there could be a book in itself, and it's just incredible. It is incredible.
Here's here's the other side of this that I'll be very vulnerable and candid about. Like, I walked away from a business where I was making 400 grand a year. So you know what happens when you go from making 40 grand a year to 400 grand a year? Your bills go from $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month or more.
Yep.
And when you're making investments and things that you've made commitments to at that level of earning, guess what you don't get to do when you stop making $400,000? You don't get to stop paying those bills. You still got to go and earn it, folks. So when you go from, hey, I've got all of this coming into, guess what? You got nothing, but you still got 25 grand a month cracking off every single day. What are you going to do? There's no choice. Like that. Is it scary? Is it crazy? Yeah, it's fucking scary. But you know what? When you put your back against the wall and you give yourself no other option, 99% of the time, you fucking figure it out, guys. That's the thing, is most people aren't putting themselves in a position where they don't have a choice except to figure it out.
Let me ask you this, and Grace, I'm not sure how many questions you got left. I don't even know what time it is, but
We're
you
having
say
fun. I
something.
don't care. Let's
Wait,
ride.
I love it. When your back is against the wall, you got to fight. In my transition from where I was last, making a very good amount of money to where I'm at now and having to build, I went, what was it? I don't know. Grace could tell you 6 months almost making nothing. And it was very
Yeah, I
hard.
know
And
that
yeah,
feeling.
your bills. And I go from making whatever I was making, comparable to what you were making at 23, 24 years old. Your bills aren't just 20 grand a month. You think you're wealthier than you are, and you're spending more than you make, and you're an idiot. And so that transition was very, very humbling. Now, I think, like you say, God moment, I needed that, right?
Mhm.
Going and making hundreds of thousands of dollars in my early 20s is not the best medicine for a young kid in his 20s. And it beats the shit out of you, and it makes you grow up really quick. And I had to fight with my back's against the wall, and we're winning the fight, and I'm winning the fight, and it's
Come on.
beautiful and it's fun to see. Is everyone cut out for that fight?
Mm.
Because this
Are they
is
cut
something
out
I
for it?
struggle with. I struggle with this.
No, not everyone is cut out for it, Reed. And it pains me to say that, but there are certain people who just aren't willing to help themselves.
Okay.
And that can change, but I can't change that for them.
Right.
And so I think at the end of the day, not everybody is capable of making that change because they've just made that decision that they're not willing to change.
Yeah.
And if someone's not willing to do something, there's not a whole lot any of us can do to make a difference in their life or to change it. Like, all we can do is just accept their decision to be what they want to be and how they want to be it. And we have to set that boundary to say, are we willing to allow that energy in our space? And I think
Yes.
that's the hardest thing that you go through when you make that transition, when you start making more money, when you start getting around a different crew, right? When you start getting into rooms with bigger thinkers, is you start asking yourself, like, is it worth being there? Do I want that energy? Because like I can love this person to death. They can be one of my oldest friends on the planet. But if every time I'm around them, I feel drained or I feel as though
Yep.
like icky, that's a hard conversation to have, but it's a very important one because you can either be an energy charger or an energy drainer. And those people that aren't willing to help themselves, they're drainers, unfortunately.
What's
Absolutely.
so hard for me? Sorry, I'm sorry, Grace. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. And absolutely, I've noticed this in a lot of different people. Like, they might say that they want it. They might say that, oh, they want to win, but there's a massive difference between somebody saying that they want to win and doing whatever the heck it takes to win. That they will either win or die trying. But Drewbie, I know you made a massive lifestyle shift. If you don't mind me asking, how old were you when you made that lifestyle shift?
Which shift specifically?
Whenever you lost over 100 pounds, that shift.
That's a weird question to have to ask. Like, I don't know, which crazy pivotal moment in my life do you want to talk about?
Yeah. There's been two very clear ones. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So the weight loss that happened. I've lost 100 pounds twice. So
What?
the first time, yeah, I've done it twice, y'all. So when I was 19 years old, I got on the scale. I was working third shift, drinking fucking like a fiend, doing all kinds of bad shit, eating fast food. And I got on the scale and I was 315 pounds at like, I think 19 or 20 years old.
Wow.
And I was like, what the fuck, Drewbie? What are you doing with your life? Like, you ain't getting laid, you ain't getting paid. What are
Yep.
you doing, kid?
You're
And
eating.
so I actually gave up soda. I used to drink like a 12-pack of Coke every day. Like, I have a post that pops up every once in a while where I talk about my addiction to Coke and how bad it was and how I'd bang them down left and right. And people are like, it's kind of shitty thing to talk about for people that were really addicted to cocaine. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks for you guys. I was addicted to sugar, which if you look up the science is equally fucking addictive as cocaine, just for the facts.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so I actually lost 100 pounds, just changing my diet. I didn't drink the soda. I started getting more active, and then I started doing drugs. And, when you do a lot of fucking ecstasy and you don't eat for days on end, and I got down to like 210 pounds. And that was when I met my girlfriend at the time, now wife, Kayla. We started dating. You know what happens when you start dating? You don't have to try as hard. And so we started going out to eat and getting extra desserts, and then waking up and eating fast food and fucking around and not really focusing on our health because we were both happy and in love and it didn't matter. And so I went from 215 back up to about 285 pounds.
Man.
And so when my son was born, my wife came to me about 4 months later and she said, babe, I love you, but like all this and your belly hitting me when we're doing things, like, I don't love that. And
kept it real.
she would fucking kept it all the way real, like as real as it can be. And it was one of those conversations where I was like, you talking to like that? But it was real. It was serious. It was a real thing. I knew it. She knew it. Like, it was a real hard conversation. I'm grateful that she was willing to be open enough to say that. Because like, had she not, who knows where my life would be? Because it was in that same season that I met a guy who was like, hey man, you're starting to make a little bit of money. I see you got this marketing company and you're doing all that. That's well and good. But like, what happens if, boom, heart attack, you're looking down, some other asshole's fucking your wife while your kid's in the other room crying because you're dead of a heart attack because you don't fucking take care of yourself, dude.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, excuse me, Jeff. Sorry, bro. Didn't mean to fucking offend you with my life. But the truth is, that was two people who were willing to have a real hard conversation with me. And that's one of those things that really shifted my entire mind around, like, the fuck am I doing with my life? And so I did 75 hard. I went crazy. I went from 285. And at one point, I got down to 183 pounds, y'all.
Wow.
Like, there's
and
pictures
you're not
of it.
short. You're like,
I'm 6'2".
6'2". Yeah.
6'2".
That's
so
skinny.
I got down to like string bean, and I was like, this ain't it. And the people around me were going like, bro, you're too skinny. Like, what are you doing? And so like, yes, I've lost 100 pounds twice. And I will tell you that at 315, fucking miserable. At 183, also fucking miserable.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't happy. And so body dysmorphia is like this cold. I mean, that's a whole other conversation for a completely different podcast episode. But the truth is, men, women, every single person you meet is going through some sort of issue with their body. They're not happy with their looks in some fashion, form, or another.
Yep.
And so what I encourage everyone to think about, what makes you feel good? Do you get up and have energy? Because to me, the only thing that matters is that I'm not that asshole at the park watching his kid from the bench because I'm fucking out of shape. I might be over there because I don't want to be playing anymore because I'm just over it. But like, it won't ever be because I cannot get up and keep up with my kid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, absolutely. And I had no idea you lost over 100 pounds twice. That brand new news to me, but that's incredible. Your body has fluctuated so much. But I just feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think there's a certain age in life? Because I've heard that your brain like stops developing in your mid-20s. And if you're going to make a lifestyle change, you're going to make it by the mid-20s. But it seems like you have defied that. So I was just curious, like, what your take is on that perspective. And maybe, Reed, you can elaborate a little bit more because I know you've done the research. What did you research about people not changing after they're 25? And obviously Drewbie's the
and I share this opinion as well, and it's basically in my opinion is based off through the experiences I've had and people that I've had the opportunity and blessing to work with. I've noticed that it's very difficult for men or women who are over the age of 30 to make drastic lifestyle changes, and I've seen the only way that those happen is through a very traumatic experience. Now, I feel as if it's easier for a young man in his 20s and teens to come across that lifestyle change. Maybe it's brain development or whatever it is. But I'm very interested, Drewbie, you've had the opportunity to work with many different people at many different age levels, and sales as well takes a lifestyle shift to truly be successful at sales for a lot of people who are new getting into it. And this goes to kind of that age-old discussion of, do I want young salespeople or old salespeople? And I'm very interested in your opinion on this.
The reason it takes trauma to make a massive change as you get older is because the weight of the responsibilities you have is different.
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because in your 20s, you pretty much think you're fucking invincible. Like, it don't matter. I'll do as many drugs as I want. I'll bang as many people as I want. I'll do as many things as I want. I don't care. It don't matter. Nothing's going to happen to me.
Yep.
There's minimal weight of responsibility. So it's easy to change because it's easy to dismiss people. It's easy to be like, fuck off. I don't care about you no more. I'm out. Right. But as you get older and as you take on responsibilities and as your relationships continue to develop and deepen and you meet people that you truly genuinely care about at a level that's more than just like, yeah, we had a one night stand. No, now you have kids together. Now there's a whole nother level of complexity to the level of thinking in which you must operate on a daily basis. So the weight of the world is different as you progress and get older. And the reason people are afraid to change is because they're comfortable. Hey, Reed, when you go to the gym, do you ever do drop sets?
Every fucking workout.
And they're fucking awful, right?
They're brutal.
Because they're inconsistent.
Yep.
But you do them because they push you out of your comfort zone, because you know the only way to continue progressing is to put yourself in a position of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The only way to make the muscle grow is to break that bitch down and rebuild it.
Yep.
So as an adult, the only way to rebuild your life is to completely burn that fucking thing to the ground and start over. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Wow. It's a great perspective, and I've seen it so many times. People that are of older age want to make the changes, and like Grace said earlier, it's more of a want rather than I'll do whatever the fuck it takes. And they don't realize that for the life you want, you've got to give up everything about the life you have. And I don't know that everyone truly understands what it means to give up everything for the life you want. And you're right. I think that's a really good perspective.
I also like pointing out the two conversations that you had that initialized that change of losing the 100 pounds the second time. Reed always talks about this with his team. It's the results that you want are often on the other side of the uncomfortable conversations you don't want to have. And those people,
always,
they wanted those results for you. They wanted those results because they cared about you. So they were willing to step out of their comfort zone and be like, I want these results for you. So I'm going to have this uncomfortable conversation. So just wanted
I'm
to
give you some trauma so that you'll do the thing that you need to do, asshole. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to see it, not just in sales, because we talk about it, if you want to close a deal, you got to, get the pink elephant out of the room, just have that uncomfortable conversation so you can get to the main objection. But this applies in life as well. So really cool to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I am super pumped we were able to have this conversation today.
Oh, yeah.
Drewbie, I have loved hearing this. I had no idea you've done all these things in life, even the fluctuation of weight. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. Is there anything else you want to add to our listeners so that they get any more golden nuggets from you? Because you've already dropped so many. I absolutely love this conversation.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. As you know, I know time is like one of our most valuable resources. For y'all to give me a little bit of your time to hang out and shoot the shit and have such an amazing conversation, I'm truly grateful for it. So like, more than anything, I really just, I would love to leave on the 4 6s, because I think this really ties in the whole premise of, okay, I know what my time is worth, but like, what the fuck do I spend it on now? And I think this is a great way to kind of bring it all together and leave them with one last little tactical thing that they can take away. Because more than anything, if I talk about myself and all the things I've done, that's cool. Like, hooray for me. Pat on the back, Drewbie. Great job. Like, thumbs up, dude. That's fantastic. And sometimes it feels very braggadocious to talk about it. But the truth is, if you don't tell those stories of the struggle, no one else can get out of theirs. So for me, when I think about that, it's important for people to understand that time conversation of what my time was worth, it sent me on a whole spiral into changing the way that I think about the value of my time. And it got me to a point where I was grinding so hard that in 2019, Christmas Eve, my wife came to me and gave me her wedding ring back and said, hey, guess what, bub? Fuck you. We love you, but you're married to your job, not your family. So you need to make a decision. Do you want the money, the fame, all the things that go along with that, the private jets, whatever? Or do you want us to be here for you? Because we will always be here, but we won't be here if that's the life that you want. I'm like, what the fuck? Christmas Eve, guys. Like, what a crazy conversation to be having when you've literally retired your wife and got her out of having to work and put her in a position to level up and grow. And to me, again, where am I spending my time? What am I spending it on? And what's the actual return on that investment? Because if you're not measuring things, you're not getting an improvement. And Reed, you and I have had this hammered into us for like the last 2 years. What gets measured gets improved. So if you want to know why you're not making the money that you want to make, why you're not living the life that you want to live, it's real easy. I know where you're not spending your time on the things you need to be spending them on. And here's the way I look at it. There's 4 areas of life that are really, really important. Sleep is number 1. Because again, I've done a lot of drugs. I've been on a lot of benders. And after 48 hours, you're basically fucking useless.
Yep.
So you got to sleep, guys. Then we put our families up there because our kids, our spouses, our relationships, like our legacy, right? That's usually right there as the top thing, the most important thing in our why. Woohoo. And that's great. And I love that too. Now we have our business because ain't none of us got fuck you money yet. We all got to work. We still got to show up. We recognize that like, it's just the way it is.
Yep.
But interestingly enough, we put ourselves last, which is why you see so many people that are burnout, unhappy, unfulfilled, miserable in their fucking lives, in their jobs, not living like just completely bump on a log people because they put themselves at the bottom. But every time they've ever gotten on an airplane, the first thing they said was, hey, guess what? If there's an emergency, you need to put your own oxygen mask on first. Because if you don't, you're now a burden to everyone else around you. So if you're running around in the world and putting yourself at the bottom of the list, you're not putting your oxygen mask on, which means you're operating at like 30% capacity of what you're really capable of, which means you're fucking lying to every single person in your life about how hard you're working and how you're making them the most important thing. Because if you really cared about them, you would make yourself peak performer first so that you could bring them the best version of you.
Yep.
So you need to flip that around and you need to get very focused on knowing that, hey, if there's 4 areas of life that are important and there's 24 hours in any given day, just, you know, we're not flat earthers or nothing. So we'll just say there's 24 hours in a day. Okay.
Well,
24 divided by 6.
Grace is on the call.
Uh-oh. Are you a flat earther, Grace?
I am not. I talked to my husband about that. That's one area where we're not in agreement. Yeah, no, that's the conversation for another day. That might take all day. So
all right. When I come through Texas with the family in the RV, we'll set up a time. We'll do a family dinner. You can tell me about your flat earth theories, Grace. I don't know. Whatever you say. Point is, there's 24 hours in a day. There's 4 areas of life that matter. That means you can spend 6 hours in any of those areas every day. And listen, Reed, you and I both know if you ever got to spend 6 hours with Grace alone and not have any other responsibilities, you can do a lot of things and have a lot of fun in 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. If you go focus 6 hours on a project that you really care about, you can fucking hammer and get it done.
Yep.
So what if, crazy idea, guys, what if you went into every day saying, hey, I'm going to spend 6 hours sleeping, 6 hours on me, 6 hours on my family, and 6 hours on my business. And in every hour of the day, I'm going to be super fucking intentional to know that I'm maximizing my potential for that time invested. What do you think your life might look like?
Pretty damn good.
It wouldn't suck.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. It wouldn't suck. That's for sure.
That's beautiful.
So,
I love that. And I'm guilty of that too. Wow. That's awesome.
Love it. Well, Reed, anything else to add?
No, I'm good. I just really enjoyed this conversation. I hope this isn't the last time we're able to do this. This has been a hell of a time in a great way. I just wrapped up. We had a meeting here in the office, and then I hopped on a Zoom call, and then this is just my last call of the day, and I couldn't ask for a better call to wrap it up. I mean, this is incredible. This is momentum for tomorrow. This is awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on here, and remember, everybody, never miss and call the damn lead. Thanks, guys.
Let's go. See you guys. Have a